Welcome to my YouTube channel, Dennis the Monk. I'm Dennis Vysokovsky, aka Dennis the Monk, and today's topic is resetting our mind, the power in gratitude and praise. So I got so much to tell you. This is one of my favorite topics. In my past or previous YouTube broadcasts, I've shared with you about the heart, the mind, the spirit, the soul, and how they work together and the effects that they have. I've shared with you the mind is that place where it's the seat of the ego, and this is my theory, the seat of the ego that tells us that we're less than or better than. That ego lies to us, it tries to protect us, but not in a healthy way. However, disciplining the mind so that we bring in humility, which is being honest with self, others, and God, or a higher power of the universe, whatever, however you want to say that. When we allow humility to come in, and that honesty, it has the ability to reset the mind and reset our emotions and reset how we're feeling and what we're doing or what we're experiencing in a given moment, whether it's in the midst of sadness, tragedy, excitement, depression, whatever it may be. Now, I've spent my life, and I share with you in past presentations, that I was a monk for 34 years. And being a Carmelite friar, a Carmelite monk, we spent 5 hours a day in prayer. I started when I was 13, made a commitment when I was 15, entered the monastery when I was 18. And the only reason why I'm telling you this is I've dedicated my whole life to the universe, to God, and to service of other people. Spirituality is really important, and that's the relationship between us and God, where religion is a practice that enables us to have some boundaries, to develop, hopefully, a moral conscience so that we can move forward in life with the appropriate boundaries to help us have relationship with ourselves, God, and other people. That's the role of church. That's the role of religion. Now, it's not my place to get into how they're doing it, whether they're good or bad, but that's supposed to be the role. And spirituality is your personal relationship with God or higher power, whatever you want to call that. So just for the record, I refer to the universe or higher power. I refer to God as also the universe, the higher power in the present, because it's coming out of my experience. So when we discipline the mind is a gift that begins to work for us. When it's undisciplined, unbridled, it will tell us that we're less than or better than. It will lie to us. It will do all these things to protect whatever it is that's inside of us, that our secrets or whatever we're not getting out and sharing with other people in the appropriate setting. However, when we start to discipline, and it's a process, it's a journey, it's not a destination. When we start this process of disciplining the mind, it enables us to move into our heart. So when we understand humility as being honest with self, others, and God, the biggest issue with humanity is being honest with ourselves. When we can start being honest with ourselves without judgment, with compassion and understanding, it moves our existence from simply an intellectual or a mental state of existence. And for me, in my theories of spirituality, moves us down into our heart. Now, the heart is a place of objective love and objective truth, and I've explained this in previous videos. When we move into that place of objective truth and objective love, we are not, one, influenced by emotional situations. Like, for example, here's what I mean. So I had, a few weeks ago, Stephen and I had to hire somebody to help us with one of our businesses. And when we hired this woman, we then found out that she had a reputation that wasn't conducive to our standard. And we had to let her go. And she only started working for us for a week. For me, it was so painful because she was a beautiful woman and inside. She had a beautiful inside. She was kind. She was considerate, but she didn't have the organizational skills that we needed, that I needed, particularly me, because I'm not that organized, and so I need someone that's working with me that is. Uh, It was one thing to have other people share their experience, but it was another one. She came up late for our first meeting. I mean, she forgot about our first meeting, came up late for a second meeting. My purpose of telling you this is to give you a few details that say objectively, she was not the right person for this position. However, going in my mind and not my heart, it was so painful to let this person go that I really liked. But when I came into I allowed my mind to be disciplined. And how I did that, I'll tell you in a minute, it enabled me to go into my heart so that I could have this experience of peace and be direct and kind. So now I'm going to go to how do we reset our mind? This is what's amazing and beautiful and powerful. We reset our mind through two things. One, gratitude. Two, praise. What are we praising and who are we praising? For me, it's praising God. You can praise the universe, higher power. God doesn't mind what you call them. They exist. They're here for us. They want us to experience salvation on earth, which is peace, happiness, and joy. When we're in a difficult place, when we're in a place of pain or in a sorrow, and we can be, for me, I get confused. I can't think straight. One thing that's really typical that Stephen and I do is we say, okay, what are we grateful for? And going into a place of gratitude has the ability to slowly eliminate the mind or the ego that says I'm better than less than. And it brings us into a place of centered, being grateful for what we have. Could be the air we breathe, depending on the circumstances. Could be having fresh water, could be having beauty or the sky, whatever it is. Could be the person standing next to you. We need to find things of which we can be grateful. When we are in that massive struggle, that place of confusion or anger or hate, whatever it is that's really powerful and overwhelming us, when we go into a place of gratitude, it slowly dissipates those intense emotions and gives us access over them or control over them. Now, the second, which for me is the most powerful, when we allow ourselves in those situations, and this is not easy, when we allow ourselves in all situations, the good, bad, and the ugly, to give praise to God, this is what happens. And it's a million times a day. When we're caught in our mind and our ego's telling us we're better than the less than, it's not being humble. We, in that less than, better than place of being, we cannot see or participate in the universal principles. We cannot participate in the mysteries of God. We cannot participate in anything that's happening truly around us and or with other people in a healthy way. But it also prevents us from seeing opportunities or seeing the mystical God, whatever, in those moments. Here's an example. Many years ago, I was in, we all have experiences, but I was in a really tough situation and I didn't know what to do. And for me, getting on my knees, that physical experience of humbling myself, my whole being to get on my knees, and it's not because I'm Catholic, it's because it's a physical experience that I need to participate in. And I speak out loud. And when I speak out loud, it takes form, shape in this physical world, and things change. Now, I was in the middle of a crisis. I didn't know what to do. And I got on my knees and just said, God, here, I explained the details. Not that God needs to know the details, but I need to get outside of my head and bring it into the physical world so it can take shape and action can occur. Explained it, and what I really needed, I was in a tough situation and I needed confirmation that what I did is going to work, because I was in a really tough place of desperation. Got on my knees, and within 15 minutes, I literally had a UPS or a FedEx truck come up my driveway and hand me an envelope that had the very thing that I needed. That's only one. If you look in, I'm a Christian, so when I look into the New Testament and the Old Testament, mind you, there are moments where people praise God in all situations, the good, bad, and the ugly. And when we do, it opens our hearts to possibilities. And that's what we really need when we're in tough places. It opens our heart to possibility, but it also opens our heart for God, the universe, a higher power to come into that situation and create a miracle, create a change. Now, mind you, I've been in situations that have been desperate. Oh, Lord, I praise and thank you for this. I don't like it. It's painful, but I know somehow it's in your hands. When we can begin to trust that what's happening in the moment has first come through the hands of God to us, it enables us to start participating in God's plan or in the universe. It enables us to collaborate with the universe because it's putting us into a place of balance. Because now we moved from our mind that's saying that we're less than or better than, it's moving us into our heart. And in our heart is the place where all miracles happen. In our heart, when we move out of our heart, life is not the burden that it is when we're up here, when our mind is occupied by things that are real or not real, or lies, and we get caught in a lot of things. The universe collaborates to make our dreams come true. Translation, God wants us to experience joy, happiness, and peace. The only way we can do that is by aligning ourselves up with those values and principles of God, not church, but of God, and they're universal, so they cross all the barriers of culture and belief. Or align ourselves up with the universal principles, or high power. It's the same. These principles work across the board, quantum physics, etc. They're all there, and they're at our disposal. But first, we have to discipline our mind. And we do that by meditation, or in this case, by gratitude and praise, to stop the thoughts, to bring us into balance, to recognize what's truth objectively, which is humility, being honest with self, others, and God, allows us to move into our heart. And moving into our heart, that's the place where miracles occur with us. They occur with us and outside of us. But in order to start participating and allow them to happen, we have to be in here, in the heart, which is a place of objective truth and objective love, and the sentinel between the spiritual world and the physical world, and not in our mind, which tells us lies or tells us we're better than and less than. When we discipline the mind, now we are in control of the mind, and enables us to gain access to the gifts and talents and power that's inside each and every one of us to do incredible things for those around us and for the world. Thank you for joining me on Dennis the Monk. And you can find me on my website, dennisvyshakovsky.com, TheresianComrades.org, or on Twitter. I really appreciate seeing you, and I hope you were able to get something from this experience, and have an amazing day.